So we got Cejudo and Johnson part 2. And, we've talked about it here a lot. We talked about the opportunity that sits at 125 pounds to be standing across from Demetrious Johnson. One of the things that comes with Demetrious' success is he's cleaned out the division. And there's just not a lot of bodies. And to be able to get that spot is as simple at times as saying, hey, I want that spot. I got a couple of good wins behind me, but I want that opportunity. And right there, you're going to get some people that turn their heads and go, really? Well, Demetrious is a scary guy. As much as you might all think people want to be world champions, when faced with the reality of reaching your goal of being a world champion, but it means standing across from Demetrious Johnson, you would be stunned behind closed doors how many people go, you know what, I'll wait for another time. So getting that spot seemed like a pretty obvious thing for Henry Cejudo to come out and be able to do. But he just wouldn't come out of his shell. He just simply wouldn't do it. He just wanted to be the good and likable guy. And no matter how many times we try to grab him by the collar and say, Henry, that spot's taken. The good guy is taken by Demetrious. There's another seat in the car. But you're going to have to change things a little bit. He came out of his shell, guys, this much in a few tweets on social media, and guess what? He got the shot. He got the fight. I worry as a fan that was his goal, and his only goal was to get the fight. I worry as a fan that he is not going to do his part to bring attention to this, and that's irresponsible by him. He will think it's sportsman of him. He will see it as sportsmanship of him. That's also why he's broke. He just refuses to understand what we're doing here. And this is a world title fight. That's a big deal. This is a rematch, which historically speaking is big business. And it's the co-main event, which is the industry's way of saying, we know you guys can't do your part. That's not on Demetrious. A little bit of it is. Demetrious is involved in this too, but he's the champion. He's the one that gets to be himself. He's the one that gets to be in that spot because he's got 12 pounds of gold around his waist. He's the one that gets that opportunity because he's the #1 ranked fighter in the world. It's incumbent on the challenger, and in this case, it's Cejudo. I liked when he came out of his shell. It got him a title spot. I don't know if he's got the intellect and the awareness enough of his surroundings to realize to pursue this. I have a feeling the next time we see Cejudo, he's going to have a boyish smile on his face. He's going to want to wrap himself in the American and the Mexican flag, and he's going to want to talk about the good old days at home with his mom. In the history of fighting, a smile, a couple of flags, and a mom never sold a fist fight on a Saturday night. But I have a feeling that that's what we're going to have to look forward to here as Cejudo moves into this. I say it because it doesn't need to be that way. It doesn't need to be that way. And what if Cejudo wins? Then we got to see that fight again in a rubber match on a main card bout, probably even loses its co-main status. Man, it takes two here. I have said these things. I had a guy in the underground forum weigh in and say, Chael, you always talk about this like it's a business. This isn't a business, it's a sport. And he said it with defiance. He said it indignantly, as though a sport somehow has the right to be on television, as though that doesn't cost money. In other words, business. It stuns me how many fans, and there's not as many. Most fans at least have an awareness of what they themselves like. But it does stun me that there still seems to be some fans that come out there and go, no, we just want to see the two best guys fighting, and that's all that this is. And if somebody can set a camera up, then great. But it's entitled at this point. It's got the right to survive. It's got the right to a profit. None of which are true. Obviously, none of which are true. But you still hear people say this. And I would challenge any fan. If you think the punches and kicks are enough, okay, I want you to watch all the fights for the next year. Oh, yeah, Chael, I always watch the fights. I watch every show. I never miss. Okay, great. I want you to watch all the fights for the next year, but I want you to watch it on mute. No commentary. No interviews. No hype, no build-up, no promos. Just go watch the punches and the kicks. And tell me how much you enjoy that. There is a reason that the fights are 15 minutes long. But the buildup is 90 days. That's where the fun is. When you guys become an adult, I'll give you a great example that a lot of adults can relate to. A vacation is not near as fun as the planning of the vacation. I've heard other adults say that, so I know you guys are going to agree with me on that. But it's true. And for me to have to come out and try to argue that point amongst customers that buy this is a little bit baffling. But it's self-awareness. None of you would want to follow the sport if you didn't get to see the pre-show and the post-show and the weigh-in show and the commentary and the ESPNs and the sports centers of the world that are covering this. None of you are going to want to watch the product on mute. And I could tell you that not only for our sport, football and baseball and basketball and hockey. These are not some noble intellectual themes I'm sharing with you. But it does stun me every now and then when somebody wants to come out and argue that it's a sport in front of a business. It's a business that happens to show a sport. The same as the NFL. So while we're probably going to be disappointed by the buildup of the co-main event because we're going to be left with the punches and the kicks, which is not fair. You've got an Olympic champion, the greatest honor you can have in amateur sports, taking on the UFC world champion, the greatest honor you can have in professional sports by way of combat. That should be a mega fight. Demetrius' spot is secure. Cejudo's got to do his part. He has a responsibility that comes with the signing of that contract. He has been demoted from a main event to a co-main event. He needs to see this. That's a slippery, slippery spot in your career. It's a slippery spot when you've been a main event and now you're lower on the card. I will tell you, as far as having some fun and some build-up, we're going to have Dillashaw and we're going to have Garbrandt that same night. That's as personal as it gets. That's a rematch. That's a world championship on the line. That has every single ingredient that it takes to have a big fight, and that is a big fight. And they will do their part, and it's real. And they're going to disclose it, and they're going to bring all of us in on it. I think that's a lot of fun. I think that division, I think there's some opportunity there. You know, you've got a two-way dance right now with TJ and Cody. You have a three-way dance when Dominic's in there. I don't know what's going on with Dominic. I don't know. I don't know if he's looking to do other things or if he's just waiting for his chance. I sincerely don't know. I was going to call and ask him, but I'm worried about the answer. I waited 3.5 years for him to get off of injuries to come back. I don't want to take any more bad news. As a Dominic fan, I say that. So let's throw Dominic in there. Let's have the big three right there. Those are your racehorses. Who's next? Who's the next guy? Frank Yeager's flirted with going down, but it doesn't appear to happen. Uriah Faber has retired. Renan Barão has left the division. Who's next? And I'm sure there's an answer. I mean, guys like Jimmy Rivera. I know there's answers out there. What I'm saying is it's time for them to use this as an opportunity. When you're in a crowded division, it's very hard to stand out. It's important that you try, but it is hard to succeed at it. When you're in an uncrowded division, it's very important if you're in that weight class that you observe the landscape on a daily basis and understand where there's openings. Right now, there's big openings for somebody to emerge at 135.